Well, welcome everybody. I think we're going to start now. First by conveying the apologies of Minister Bett. He's a bit delayed with some media people and so on. But he's determined to make his way through here as he wants to be part of this session. As you will notice, the content has been enriched, I would say, has been adjusted a little bit, and unfortunately, because the programs are already printed, we didn't have time to fully go back to that. But basically, the way we're going to do this is, this is all about data, of course. So, but data for prosperity of Africa, but now beyond, it's for prosperity overall, with a special emphasis on South-South collaboration. So this is why we have assembled panelists from two continents, and as far as I know, it's the first time this is ever done, really, where we'll have panelists from Latin America as well as panelists from Africa, each giving us a glimpse as to what the open data policy is in their part of the world. So we can see a little bit, what are the pros and cons, or how avenues of collaboration are possible between these continents, as we often talk about South-South collaboration, but not enough do we do it. Hopefully, at some point, Minister Bett will join us, and then we'll be able to convey the conclusions, if not more, directly to him. So first, to illustrate the point, we're going to just share with you, invite Mr. Fritz Schulz to come on the stage. Fritz is in charge of an organization called Homologa, which focuses on pesticides and other things. But I've asked Fritz to come because I find their data set quite interesting and illustrates well the kind of data that floats out there, that if countries are given the tools and the capacity to make the best use of it, it can really bring them to the next level of performance. So on this, I will give approximately 10 minutes to Fritz to show us a little bit more about Homologa. Fritz.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, in my presentation I will talk about plant health, and I will present you a database that we call Homologa. The purpose of that presentation is more or less to show you what you can do with our database, how you can improve the situation concerning crop pest solutions, and as well as reducing the trade barriers that are linked with the use of pesticides. Just to explain you quickly what we do. We collect information about approved crop protection products and about their MRLs, means maximum residual levels allowed in the different countries. What we do, we collect this data in many countries. We standardize and harmonize it. We have, for example, the crop names, we have the same in every country, and the pest names we translate in Latin. We feed everything in a single database, and in the end, what comes out is a database that helps you to analyze and compare crops and pests across the world. If you see every country you see in green, you will find in our database where we have information. We have not the same detail of information in all the countries, but let's say we have a sort of a minimum information for these countries you can see here. In the end, we come up with 70 countries. We have 180,000 registered crop protection products, and we have 20 million crop use cases of pesticide. If I come now to the possible potential of finding solutions that are needed in some countries we think we have about 75% of all the solution needed available. So our idea is not to reinvent the wheels in every country that has a problem, but as a first step to look what is available in other countries and how it can be used in the country where it's needed. If we look at the solutions, we are not only collecting information about chemical pesticides, but we also collect information about biological pesticides. And looking at the data we have, we think that about 80% of the solutions still come from synthetic pesticides. We have about 6% from anorganic products, and we have about 15% from biological products. This might change in the future depending on what will be developed by the different stakeholders. Give you one example. It's a moss that's called Tuta absoluta, that is available in many countries and is as well an invasive species. As in a second example, I will give you the case of fresh beans and about the residue levels and the trade issues with fresh beans. Here the example for Tuta absoluta in tomatoes. I will not go to the detail here, but I listed all the active ingredients we find on global level, which I've started listing the biological products. And if you look at the countries where we find information, it's in Brazil, it's in Morocco, in Tunisia, Turkey, it's Mexico, Belgium, Chile. So there are a lot of options around in the world for this crop. And we know we have cases, countries in Africa who struggle a lot with Tuta absoluta as an invasive species. We go further to the standard products. You see there's also a very long list, and you have more or less old active ingredient as well, and it's possible to choose as well if you wish to have a newer active ingredient or an older one. What's important in our database as well that you can compare countries. So we make things accessible across the countries. Here I give you an example between Kenya and France. And I will talk about the fresh beans. First thing what you can do in the database, we have as well trade statistics in the database that are not done by our own, but that were imported from Comtrade. This is a UN organization. But we make it accessible and we map it with our crops so it can be compared to each other. You see here fresh beans are mainly, let's say, 25% of the market is export from Africa, and the other 75% come from other countries. If we go to individual exporting countries, you see Belgium, Morocco, China as a leading country, but you see as well on the fifth place there is Kenya, and there is quite a number of other African countries exporting fresh beans. The importing countries, major importing countries, is the US, followed by UK, Japan, and the Netherlands, for example. Now I'm coming to the example with the maximum residue levels, just to show you a little bit the things what we do. We show you the differences between maximum residue levels from one country to another. You can see which active ingredients comply with another country and which do not comply. We can show you through the registration data where we know the use pattern. We can show you where the difference might come from. So maybe the product is registered in one country very late in the season and in another country very early in the season. The system allows you as well to find other options. If there is an active ingredient that doesn't fit, you can find another option. Here an example, I looked at the data and I compared the MRLs of the European Union with the registered products in Kenya, for example. And you see in Kenya you have for fresh beans, you have about 118 active ingredients that are registered. You can see that about 40% of these active ingredients are also approved in Europe and have an MRL. So with these active ingredients you can work without having too much fear that there might be a problem with the tolerances. But you see as well, there are in Europe we have candidates for substitution. These are active ingredients that will disappear from the market. And for these active ingredients, tolerances will be reduced to more or less zero. So there is just a big part that might change in the future. And then you see still also a big part of about 20, 30 products in Kenya. There is no MRL, no registration anymore in Europe. That means the MRLs are on zero level. So if you use them in Kenya for exporting to Europe, there could be a problem. I just want to give you a reference who works with this database, and it's the Egyptian government. They give this database as well to their main exporters, and we have users in Egypt every day. As a summary, I can say a homologer opens up the knowledge about solutions, and it helps people learning from existing solutions in other countries. And we think we can supply a piece of the puzzle to increase yields, to facilitate trade, and also to help choosing better products that are safer for human health and they are safer for the environment. We also think we can help a lot in the digitalization of the agriculture, in supplying this kind of information to farm management systems, to traceability systems, and precision farming. And I think if people start working with this database, you will find out it will help communication on international level, because if you find a solution, you can go and find the source of the solution in another country, and you can exchange further experience with people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fritz, for this very interesting presentation. So indeed, there's a wide range of data available out there that allows for comparisons and therefore for strategic decisions, whether it is in terms of investments, developments, exports, you name it. So that's just one example against very many that are available. Now, with this in context, I would like to invite our panelists to come on the stage so that they give us a glimpse as to what the open data policy is in their countries. And for this, we have, as I said, 3 Latin American countries and 3 from Africa. Latin American countries are represented by Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. Please come in. I'm sorry, there's been some logistical issues because of the delay over there, so we're still tracking down some of our delegates. So I will ask also our delegates from Africa to come as well, so please. So, thank you. Thank you. Please. So we would like to welcome His Excellency Minister Det, which is the host of this session. You're most welcome. Minister's arrival is very timely because we were about to begin giving a glimpse as to what the open data policy is in a number of countries. We're still tracking one of the delegates that is on his way. So if it's okay with you, Excellency, we will get the delegates to give us a glimpse of what the open data policy is in their country, and then we'll look at Kenya's presented by you and your conclusions also from what you will hear, if that's okay with you. Yes? Thank you, Excellency. So I guess we will start maybe with the end of the table with Mr. Malik Metsuba from Burkina Faso. Malik, would you like to come here or stay where you are? Then you need to move the microphone, please. Or just a second, we're setting up something for you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy and honored to participate to GODAN Summit and to be part of this high-level panel. I'm Malik Tapsoba from Burkina Faso, and we have started our Open Data Initiative in 2014. And as the concept were new, we are doing the promotion of open data by examples, because people they better understand or accept something, yes, when they can see concretely what will be the benefit for them. So before to talk about the two examples on the screen, I would like to explain why Burkina has decided to engage in open data. The first reason is that the citizen and civil society are increasingly demanding in terms of transparency. The second reason is that the government don't have an overview on his own data. And the third reason is that after the data are collected and used for a specific project in the ministry and institution, these data are not used again. So that's why we have decided to engage in open data, and we have built an open data portal which we wish to be the main gateway to have access to the data in Burkina Faso. So, and at the same moment, we have developed an application called Nendo, as you can see on the screen, or Our School, Our Data, or Nos écoles, nos données in French. So this application aims to map all the schools in Burkina Faso and to give some metadata on each school. So with this tool, if you are a parent, so you can, regarding the specification on each school, you can choose the best school for your children. And if you are, for example, a business, so you can see where are the opportunity of investment. For example, if a school don't have electricity, so you can contact them to see how you can help them to have electricity. And if you are a member of the government, so you can see if the development of school in this area meet the policy of the government. So the second solution I would like to talk about is a mapping of water points and sanitation in Burkina Faso, because agriculture is a priority for our country. So we wish to map the potential in terms of agriculture and nutrition, in terms of agriculture and water of our country to facilitate the investment. So we want for each region of Burkina to say what is the potential. For example, if the center region is specialized in tomatoes, so we can say, you can see on this application that this region produce tomatoes, and you can have tomatoes, for example, from January to February, and the potential in terms of to use this water during the dry season. So we have started by mapping the water and sanitation point, but at the end we wish to have the mapping of agriculture and water in Burkina Faso. So maybe if you want to ask, the time is too short. If you want to know more about this application, you can visit our stand. So we'll explain you more what we are doing. So now I would like to talk about the approach we have in Burkina, because for each of our projects, so we don't stay like in a laboratory to develop a solution, but we always involve all the stakeholders. We call everybody to explain the project, and everyone will tell us what will be his contribution for the success of the project. So we think that in that way, the project will be better accepted and used and promoted by all the stakeholders. So to end my speech, I would like to thank Mr. Andre GODAN for inviting us, and to say that the next step for our project is to extend to all the country, yes, and to replicate in other country in West Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Malik. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of His Excellency from Sierra Leone as well, who graces us with his presence. So we'll be asking His Excellency to say a few words maybe before Mr. Bet at the very end, if that's okay. So continuing on the same line, we have a representative from Kenya who's going to say a few words about the Kenyan's Open Data Initiative. So would you like to come here, or would you prefer to speak from where you are? I will let you introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, Excellencies, delegates present. My name is Sami Naporos, Managing Director of Wasonyiwa South Development Authority. I'm sorry, the technology is failing us, so I'll not be able to project my presentation. But all the same, I have like 8 minutes. And I wanted to talk about data and planning and the symbiotic relationship between data planning, that's solid planning, robust planning, and monitoring and evaluation. I represent an authority, a regional development authority, and come with, we have our sister project or agency, Kerio Valley Development Authority, represented by Mr. David Kimosov. Maybe you can stand so they can see you. And then one director from regional development authorities. Data is not an end by itself, but it's a means to an end. So the only way we know that data is functioning, if it translates to improved livelihoods and performance programming, if it helps enhance performance of institutions and service delivery. So there's a positive symbiotic relationship between data, accessibility, usability, quality that is fit for purpose, and effective planning and monitoring and evaluation. Where planning and M&E is informed by reliable quality data, then we have what we call targeted planning, that resources are targeted to specific ends and specific deliverables. For example, with regional development authorities in Kenya, we have been able to map all water sources. We have come up with the tools to map water sources in arid areas. Regional development authorities, by and large, operate in ASAP, that is arid and semi-arid. And a lot of improvement in the last 1 year, 2 years alone, using the same tool, we have been able to do over 700 small dams and water plants for provision of water using the system of where we do mapping. But again, we have a challenge of accessibility of data. Still work in progress. We are not yet out there, we are not yet there. There's a challenge of each individual, probably ministries, we have our own silos. And maybe the CS will confirm, and the delegates from Kenya. And this is not unique to Kenya, it's all of Africa. I'm also a researcher, or I'm doing a PhD in monitoring and evaluation and data, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. And the challenge is that, it cuts across that institutions have their own data, but there are no robust platforms to share the same data. So, but there are plans in place. Like for Kenya, we have Open Data Network. We have Kenya Info. Those are portals where there are thousands of data, but they are not yet in data sets. So you may not get a lot of information regarding specific areas. And more so currently, because of, I think Kenya has one of the highest penetration of mobile phones, and especially smartphones. People are able to get data on pricing, demographic data is available, but the same cannot be turned into useful information, so there's still a lot of work to be done. And what you're saying that we still experience some challenges. I've already said about the shareability of the same data. But again, even the issues of policy is that there are no proper guidelines. And I think the challenge from the team from Kenya is that as we go back to our countries, and even members who are here, is that we are going to come up with specific actions where probably it will lead to maybe a bill in parliament where we will have a policy on data or an act on data. It may be existing, but it has not been actualized or operationalized as part of the regulations for that matter. Resources and technical capacity and technology or what you call the innovativeness are still required. So they still need a lot of, so we say that data has a cost and has value. And if there are no resources towards establishment of the same data, then it becomes a challenge for us, even as who are involved in development in day-to-day work. To conclude, effective and evidence-based planning and monitoring and evaluation require timely, reliable, and quality data for accelerated development. Programs or programming generated data will continuously feed planning. That's a feedback loop. What you're saying is that for planning, we require data. And the same data will be inputted back into planning so that we have efficient and effective operations. Thank you.
So we apologize for this technical difficulty, but nevertheless, very interesting presentation, so thank you. We will continue on the same line, with this time with Rwanda, with Mr. Bonny, who's going to come and tell us a little bit about Rwanda's approach to open data.
Excellencies, guests around, good morning everyone. My name is Bonny Musefano. I am representing our Minister of Agriculture. I came from our embassy right here in Washington, D.C. Happy to join the advocates who are supporting the GODAN initiative. I'll briefly read and take you through where our country is in terms of data, support for open data. First of all, before I read through, I want to thank so much Andre for inviting us, including us to be part of the partners who are supportive of this great initiative. And I want to start by saying that this is a call to action and to amplify the cause for open data. On the global context, I'll say hunger and undernutrition impose enormous human and economic costs. One in every 9 persons across the globe, including women and children, suffer from incapacitating hunger and malnutrition. So this is basically what we are listening since the whole of yesterday. And in addition to the impact of hunger and malnutrition on the quality of human life through crippling poverty, disease, and death of millions, the economic cost is estimated at reduced global gross domestic product worth 1.4 to 2 trillion per year. In the country context, if I speak on Rwanda's behalf, there has been significant steps in reducing hunger and malnutrition, in addressing some of the underlying issues that hold back progress. But for the focus of today, I would say food and security, nutrition are considered fundamental issues for the national economic and poverty reduction strategy, and also among the pillars for the strategic plan for the transformation of agriculture. So in saying this, we welcome partners like GODAN Initiative to work with us in our way to manage these challenges that we're incurring. For agriculture, it continues to be the backbone of the Rwandan economy. The sector contributes 1/3 of the national output, and 70% of our country labor force is directly dependent on agriculture and employment. Rwanda's commitment to transform from an agrarian economy to one that is based on information and knowledge is in the Vision 2020. That is the framework that we have. And this vision is translated into an action of midterm implementation framework, which includes what we call the Smart Rwanda. Smart Rwanda is a master plan that is 2014 to 2018 that commits the government to develop a policy for open data. So when I got this statement, they were saying it was under review, but I'm happy to say that yesterday our House of Legislation passed it. So it's something that we are seeing that is going to be considered. So the government of Rwanda is committed to availing open data and appreciates the potential of open data availability to build pragmatic, accurate, and data-driven solutions. The use of open data to create innovative solutions for improving food systems and to end hunger and malnutrition is of particular interest for a large agrarian economy looking to catalyze a knowledge-based driven transformation of agriculture and to end hunger and malnutrition. So as I outline our strategy, I would say our focus on, in terms of projects that we would be more interested to partner in, people who are looking at analyzing and working on data collection in food production, in agriculture, input data, in modernization of agricultural technologies, but how they are creating this impact in agriculture. Land data, we're happy to say that our country has been well plotted on the GPS now. I would say the land was allocated. We have the soft copy of the whole country, which is a very good system that was initiated, but also on the part of technology, we've been able to lay fiber optics that's covering almost 90% of the country. So with such infrastructure, it's in support of having data, but also having the legislation coming up with a process to accept and have accessibility to the data. I felt maybe it was good also to share the structure of our Ministry of Agriculture in terms of focusing on the programs that we are looking at. We have two implementation institutions, one we call the Rwanda Agriculture Board, that is available to support the improvement in food security and transform agriculture, but also to generate research and extension services. So all these are institutes that would be very helpful to work with in case we have partnerships. The other one is the National Agriculture Export Board that is focusing on exports, focusing on agriculture exports. And to conclude, I would say the services that we see that happen in the Agriculture Ministry, the Agriculture and Livestock Inspection and Certification Services, which looks at data as an area to focus on, crop intensification programs, one cow per poor family program, which is one of our homegrown solutions. It takes you back to what people know about the country in terms of dark history and some programs that we came up as homegrown solutions to help us bring back communities to work together. The other one is Agricultural Information and Communication, and the final one is National Sericulture Center. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to connecting with more of you. Thanks.
Policy and open data. Thank you, Andre. Thank you for inviting us here as Colombians. We're very honored to be at this forum, and I'd like to say hello to my colleagues at this table and to the honored guests to be here at this moment. Perhaps when you introduced this panel, Andre, you said that it was going to be very important to us to share South-South cooperation. And again, I think to my great surprise, we have been working, for example, with Rwanda, following the example in land tenure problems that we've had in Colombia. So sometimes we say like very
faraway countries, but very closely working in common issues. Same thing with Mexico, for example, with the land plan issue, or with Brazil, with Embrapa, in a lot of cooperation in agronomy, technology. So I think it's a very good, I think it's a very good idea to put us here together. So my name is Ricardo Sanchez. I represent the Ministry of ICT of Colombia. I lead a program called ICT and Agro. And for many years, I would say like there was a big divorce between agricultural sector and IT sector. Nowadays, we're coming close together to work. And why are we trying to work together? Well, Colombia is one of the few countries in the world that in the next years, we're going to be expanding our agricultural frontier with no habitat loss. Colombia has more or less 140 million hectares, and we are using 45 million hectares. A lot in extensive cattle grazing, less in agricultural purposes. So as a national policy, Colombia has decided to dedicate more land that today is in a very inefficient way used in cattle grazing, less than 0.5 cows heads per hectare. And we're definitely transforming our landscape into more agriculture, but with no habitat loss. Colombia is closing its agricultural frontier. And for example, here we're following a lot of what Brazil has been doing in closing its agricultural frontier and being more efficient, more productive within the same range of land. So Colombia is destined to be a country that will be supporting the breadbasket of the world. I think there's 7 or 8 countries. But to do that, we need more agronomy, but of course more technology. And I think that's one of the major takeaways that I would like to share with you. Colombia is definitely in a way of integrating technology into agricultural production. And one of the ways to have more technology, obviously, is the open data revolution we're experiencing through Andres' leadership. Second of all, having this big task of producing food for Colombians, for the world, 2 years ago we got an index that the Global Data Index Institute publishes every 2 or 3 years, and Colombia is 4th at a worldwide ranking. So we're very happy, we're very honored, but unfortunately, from the agricultural perspective, like the two only variables that are measured in this index are land tenure issues and weather forecasts. And like I think, these are 2 issues that are in red, and perhaps they're under my responsibility. We need to develop a lot of open data initiatives to actually have a better management of the land, a better management of the climate. And so even this morning when Secretary Vislek was talking, I was 2 or 3 years ago part of a Colombian delegation for the free trade agreement, and for many years our producers, the only worry they had is, please, no FTAs with the US, no FTAs with Brazil, no FTAs with New Zealand. But nowadays things have changed, and I think now what we require is we need more information to be more competitive. Yesterday at this forum, we shared the experience of the rice producers in Colombia with SIAT. And the rice producers were one of the guys who decided to block the roads because they didn't want any free trade with anyone. Nowadays, they say that if we hadn't used this SIAT approach of open data, we would have not been producing today, because nowadays we have a free trade agreement with the US, and it's thanks to open data that they're being more competitive. So as a national policy, the Ministry of ICT and all of the ministries of Colombia decided to create a program, a national program called the Route of the Excellency, for 6 major sectors in Colombia: mobility, citizen security, public health, 41 agricultural productive chains. And there's the importance of open data for opening the data, not only for the export products, coffee, bananas, flowers, palm oils, but also for the products like cereals and rice that perhaps, they also have the chance to be part of this agricultural information revolution, and we're working with these 41 productive chains to make them more competitive. Land use planning, and education. So like for my government, we have the 6 major issues, and we're working with this digital economy in open data. Even last week, our Vice Minister of IT is now called the Vice Minister of Digital Economy, Andrea. Individually, at the agricultural sector, we also developed a strategic plan of IT called PETIC. PETIC is led by the Ministry of Agriculture. We have a CIO, like Mexico has in Zagarpa CIO. So Fidel Torres is our CIO from the Ministry of Ag, and he's responsible to integrate every single institution at a national, and regional, and even village level to make sure we have an open data strategy and we have a connectivity plan within the 32 departments we have in Colombia. Two major milestones that we developed in the past month. First, the Agricultural National Exchange institution called Bolsa Mercantil de Colombia has now opened its data since a month ago, sharing each of the transactions done every single day in Colombia. So 38,000 transactions are now for public information to see how is the price of rice of the cotton. So like it's the first innovation exercise done in Colombia by an agricultural institution. Second of all, Corpoica, which is our national research center, partner of Embrapa, partner of many other, of CIAR of course, they have now 18,000 publications publicly open at a national database. And for many years it was very difficult because scientists of Colombia, perhaps I could say even scientists worldwide, they did not want to share their information because they said no, because that's the way I'm going to even get a higher increase income because I have a paper here. Well, nowadays Corpoica decided to open these publications at a national base, and I think it's going to be a very good input to have actually this publication from our national scientists, open not only in Colombia but at a worldwide level. So we have a major challenge for Colombia. If we want to be a breadbasket of the world, if we want to expand our agricultural frontier without touching natural habitats, and the most important for these days, after 52 years of conflict, we're hopefully to have the final process of long-term conflict between, social conflict between left-wing guerrillas and civil society. And in order to make this happen, the UN has been a very important partner for this peace process. We need to make sure we can create sustainable territories in many parts of Colombia. And the only way that the government of Colombia can assure to gain confidence in creating transparency and information, building social networks, building roads, infrastructure, rural development is through open data. Even in the peace agreement that will be signed in Cartagena in 2 months, Secretary General will be there of the UN. There's a lot of information and a lot of competences that go to the Ministry of ITC in a peace process. In the rural development process, there's a lot of accomplishment that need to be fulfilled by the Ministry of Information and Technology of Colombia through open data information. So I do think there's a big opportunity not only to be a breadbasket, but to make sure we can create an effective peace process in the regions. There is perhaps one thing that also we need to work in Colombia, and I would say it applies especially to all of the developing countries. Our rural population is aging. The average producer in Colombia is 58 years old. And in order to make sure we can get a call from the young generations, either to stay in the field or to go back to the country, to the countryside, I think that the role of ITC and open data will help all this new generation of farmers to make sure they can farm and they can be connected to the world. In order to create this agricultural economy, Andre, we really need the help of GODAN, as we need also the help from FAO. 2 days ago in Bogota, we signed an FAO agreement between the Ministry of ITC and FAO to create a social territories, productive territories. But I do think the major call that representing and on behalf of the government of Colombia, we do need to follow your guidance your advice and the partnership we would like to establish to create a better territory, agricultural territory, more productive in Colombia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. So now we're going to move to another part of the world with Mexico. So Mr. 00 is going to say a few words about Mexico's policy.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Andre, for having me here. I work in Mexican government in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Rural Development, and Fisheries and Food. Basically, our main job is to help farmers be more productive through the execution of the policy, the aid policy of our office. Lately, with all the budget restraints, constraints, it's been very challenging. We've been asked to go from the subsidy to the productive aid. And that represents a big challenge, especially for the small holder farmer. So, and why? Because of obviously the medium-sized farmer, the farmer that is more productive, they can pretty much do it by themselves without even the support from the government. But the smallholder farmer is the one that is really alone. So the challenge for us is we need to implement policy, implement support through technology, and that's where the open data comes into place. I'll tell you a little bit about the policy government for open data and technology, specifically in Zagarpa. We have three main projects. The first one is for transparency. We are implementing a big database with all the information regarding the support programs, the financial aids, with all the data necessary to make it transparent. Second project is we're developing mobile applications. One of the applications is called Zagarpa Produce. It's mainly created so the farmer can actually understand the vocation of the land. We will give him aids on how to be more productive. All the information that we gather throughout about 300 technicians throughout the country, we capture data in around 1,000 offices. All of that information, plus information that is gathered from universities, all that information is put together and delivered to this mobile app, which is available in iOS and Android, in Google Store and Apple. And the other application is called Zagarpa Mercados. Zagarpa Mercados tries to make the exchange of commercial exchange easier for the small farmer. It is a very easy to use app where anybody can take a picture, upload a product, define its characteristics, and then be open in the market. On the rural areas in Mexico, there are around 35% of people that don't have access to smartphones. They have just regular phones without smart functions. So within that application, we developed a very simple list of small messages, so they can also upload their offers, and in that way we can get rid of the middleman. There is a big gap between the price that is paid out in the market, or that we pay, from the price that the actual farmer gets paid. So that's a big opportunity also for open data. We believe that open data starts with an open mind. And as part of our strategy, we're going even farther. we're including in our strategy open source technologies. The architecture, the enterprise architecture of the ministry is being developed around the national policy of open data, which exists since 2013, about going after open source, cloud, solutions in the cloud, open databases. So I believe that Mexico is a big supporter of open data. Through these applications, we believe that we can change the lives of the small farmer. One other important thing is that we need to consider the farmer, the user. The first time that we presented the applications to them, there is a big group of organizations called, it is national organizations, about 60 or more groups of farmers that are represented. We presented the apps, and at the beginning, it was tough because they told us that we didn't understand what they needed. And that was true at the beginning. I think we need to work closely with the farmers to understand how they really can use the data. How can we deliver the data to make it really, to really generate impact? So this effort of opening the data and delivering the data needs to keep them in the loop, very closely in the loop. And that's the only way that it's going to work. So thank you for having me here representing Mexico, Andre.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo. So now, if we may, we're going to move another 5,000 miles going back south to Argentina. So Rudy, if you could share a few words about Argentina's open data policy.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Andre, for the invitation. I'm the Undersecretary of Open Government and Public Innovation for Argentina. I work for the Ministry of Modernization, which is a new ministry. As you may know, Argentina has a new government that began in December after 12 years of a previous government. And what we found is basically that the country information infrastructure was broken. So part of the work we are doing from our ministry is trying to reestablish that information infrastructure for the country, beginning with the National Statistics Institute, which for many, many years was publishing information that didn't have any kind of credit with journalists and NGOs, etc., etc. And part of the work we are doing in the ministry also is creating a strategy for data infrastructure for the country, which I think it's something that has been we have been talking about this in the summit in many panels. We are very proud to be part of the GODAN family. We think that these kind of partnerships, these kind of communities are the ones that accelerate progress in these specific areas. So we are really open to collaborate. To give you a small idea of what is going on in Argentina, back in January, after a few days of taking office, President Macri sent an executive order saying that the country had 90 days to start publishing information related to transparency, of what we call the agenda of transparency. So in those 90 days, we published the information that for many, many years was requested by NGOs and civil society organizations. After that, he gave us another order. In 180 days, we had to publish an open data plan for the country with the specific information that was going to be released by every ministry. We have 24 agencies, major agencies in Argentina, so it's a huge work. We are about to finish that work, and in 2 weeks we're going to be presenting this first public open data national plan for Argentina. During this past 6 months, we have been moving a lot, And we have found some specific agencies that were very interesting and had like the human resources and the professional capacity to start publishing data. And one of those agencies was the agro-industry minister, with a great potential of human resources, a great professional team. And we start working with them, helping them to start working on their data portal, which we launched 2 months ago. And happily it's beginning to publish a lot of information. In that portal, we are trying to connect with the minister, with the agency's strategy, which is basically based on 3 main pillars. One is productivity, so bring information to small producers, promote family agriculture, and also to understand that Argentina, it's part of we feel a responsibility to be part of the world food security system. Argentina used to be the barn of the world. We want to be the supermarket of the world. And we have the conditions to do that. Also adding value, combining technology with our rich territory, and also insert into the world. And I think that's where GODAN has a great role to play, trying to organize and move the conversation around data, around how we share the data, around standards, that it's pretty much needed. My background is from city level. I've been working on data for 5 years. I've launched the initiative for the city of Buenos Aires, and now we are super excited to be working at the national level on this organization. And if there is one thing that we learn from the city perspective, in which you are very close to the people needs, and it's something that changed a lot when you go to national level, it's that in terms of data, one of the most important things, and I'm going to repeat this again, is community. And that's why we think that, again, an organization like GODAN should be replicated probably in other sectors to start moving up the conversation around the importance of having good information to tackle the world's biggest problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rudy, for this most impressive presentation. I hope this gave you a little bit of a flavor as to how people are looking at open data within different parts of the world, but in a South-South perspective also. So before we wrap this up through a nice presentation that His Excellency Minister Bet has prepared, if he allows me, I just first acknowledge the presence of Deputy Minister Madame Jallo from Sierra Leone, and ask Minister Bangura, also from Sierra Leone, to say a few words about Sierra Leone's open data policy before we give the full floor to our host, Minister Bet. Is that okay with you, Excellency? Thank you.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mohamed Bangura. I'm the Minister of Information and Communication of Sierra Leone. Henry, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here today to share our experience on a very important topic. We are from Sierra Leone. It's a small country. We've gone through a very turbulent period in the past 2 decades. We had the most vicious and brutal civil war, which we conquered, and later the Ebola crisis. Prior to the Ebola, our country was the fastest growing economy in the world, and the most peaceful country also, #1 in West Africa and 8 in Africa, according to the World Peace Index, and 58 in the world. So, in a nutshell, Sierra Leone is a destination for for business, and it has also been rated as the best place to do business anywhere in Africa. Permit me to share our own thoughts on this very important discussion. Open data, folks, as we are now moving towards a green economy, it's a fact that we have no choice. Every country has to give themselves up on open data, especially in agriculture. It's heart-rending, folks, when you see countries spending almost half of their budgets in purchasing arms and ammunition, manufacturing of drone and jet fighters to fight wars, where we pay very little attention on the technology that will help us access data. I think at the end of this conference, we must all agree with the resolution to call our country to spend more time and put more resources in looking for the right technology that makes it very easy for us to access, whether it's data on agriculture or climate change, that we can use to fight poverty. Let me share our experience how the collection of data was used to save life in Sierra Leone during the Ebola crisis. Because the disease was so new, there was no right treatment that can apply. So our country was caught unprepared with this disease. Small communities were using notebooks, notepad, to rally around their community on a head count to know how many affected patients we have, to know highly risk areas, and they use this information and pass them to what you call the local chief. Then the local chief will pass them to the central government for an immediate response. That is their own method of collecting data. Assuming if we had better prepared with the right technology, we would have been in a better place to fight Ebola and save more lives. Folks, agriculture today, as a country, Australia, 58% of our GDP comes from agriculture. Because of that, almost every Australian, one way or the other, involves in small-scale agriculture. But the Minister of Agriculture, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, will throw light more on our capacity when it comes to agriculture. But what we have done as a country to pay more focus on data collection, we have passed the right to access of information. It is now a law, and it's also a crime now if you fail to disclose data on various happenings in the various MDAs. It is now a crime. We have a commission which has been established, and it is now in full operation. Where if I want to have access of data about how many mobile users we have in Sierra Leone, you can go to the provider himself to access those data. Failing to do that is a crime. It's a punishable crime. Folks, in the past few years, we have laid premium on the fight against hunger. The fight against hunger has been in our forefront as a government. We have developed various mechanisms through data collection. But we realize that along the road, we are facing a lot of challenges. The challenges of collecting data. In a nutshell, if we are to sit here and discuss this very important topic, as a country, we came here with some action points that we want to share that can be implemented. And if we do, we will, by maybe the next summit, come with tangible results. We believe, one, we have to build the capacity of farmers to understand and interpret data collection. Build the capacity of farmers to interpret and understand data collection. If we fail to empower our farmers to understand what is data, how to collect it, and how to interpret it. It will be difficult for them to even sustain themselves into the field of agriculture. Let us use part of the Universal Access Fund. Let us use part of the Universal Access Funds to promote agricultural data collection. And that's what we have done in our ministry now. Part of it has now been designed to go out to the rural areas where we train farmers how to use data collection and share them among themselves. In Sierra Leone, for example, we have farmers who grow beautiful crops around the country. The problem they are facing is marketing, pricing, how to display their goods. With the right technology, with the use of an application of an app, using even a smartphone, if we train the farmers well how to use that smartphone, they can showcase their goods and look for the right market to sell their goods. So, Henry, as we conclude this summit, we will want to see tangible applications that will directly impact the farmers. In Sierra Leone, for example, the media landscape paid very little attention on data collection. I was opportune to witness one of our sister journalists giving a presentation yesterday about the use of drone in data collection with pictures that will tell the story. Because our country journalism is more entrenched into sensational journalism, more political stories. They pay very little attention on agricultural stories, data collections. So what we have done as a ministry is to train a section of journalists who will pay serious focus on data, agricultural data collection, and pass them over. For example, pest control. Crops are affected by pests. Farmers don't know how to use the right application to protect their crops. But with a proper data collection, we believe the farmers will be in a better place to protect their produce. Henry, once more, let me don't hold you too long because the deliberation today has been so fruitful and it has been an experience sharing. I just want to convey the appreciation of our government, our President, Dr. Ernest Corona, for giving us the opportunity to land here and also to network and share our thoughts about this very important topic. But folks, let us don't forget when we go back home, let us help lobby our governments, let them pay more attention in the right technology to collect data, agricultural data that we can use to fight poverty, disease. Thank you very much.
I'm just speechless. I don't know what to say. It doesn't happen to me very often, but I'm just very impressed by the commitment that I heard from all the speakers and then from Minister Bangura. Now, I really would like to give the floor to His Excellency Minister Ben, but I still have the Deputy Minister, Mr. Jallo, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture, which would like to say just a few words from Sierra Leone, and then the floor will all be yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Excellency, distinguished guests. Andre, I want to thank you on behalf of the Ministry and the Government of Sierra Leone for inviting us to this great occasion. Today, the world is making history because data is very, very important in every facet of development. I bring you greetings from my Honorable Minister, who is busy at the moment and could not come to this occasion. We all know Sierra Leone is predominantly an agricultural country. About 80% and more are engaged in agriculture one way or the other. So there's the more reason why we need data collection in agriculture. And more so in terms of crop production, women and youth are more engaged in such activities. But honestly, Andrew, you know, in our country, looking at the laws, traditional laws, the land tenure system is preventing women to have access to land and let alone make money out of land. So that's the more reason why we need to go through data collection and analysis and develop programs and plans so that the main crop producers who are women will be able to make money and make use of data that has been collected. Our approach here has been laid down by the Minister of Information. We have passed the law and we have the Open Data Law, which is called the Open Data Initiative, now called OGP, Open Government Partnership, wherein the President is the center of it all. So whatever we do is we pass through that Open Data Law to ensure that the country has basic data that is really necessary. But we have a problem. How do we collect this data? Traditionally, as my predecessor have just explained, it's difficult to put up data where we don't have the equipment, the necessary equipment to let us have those data to enable to share it all over the world. Sierra Leone, I will not say we don't have data. We've got a lot of data in terms of agriculture, production, productivity. But the challenge we have here is how do we translate this data from that level to the wider society? That's why we are here today, and we are happy to be here, and we believe as we go back, we will strengthen up. Because we want to talk about promoting food production and productivity, data is very key. We have, like for example, in livestock management, we still have challenges. We are low in livestock production. The reason being is this: we've gone through a series of wars, challenges. How do we get the level to where we are? We believe we have food protein, but we also need animal protein, which is very, very important in our country. I therefore accept all these days since yesterday we are here. We have learned a lot. We've got a lot of information, which we believe if you take that package home and have the necessary support and networking, collaboration, we will create a big synergy for Sierra Leone and for Africa and the world at large. I don't want to bore you with too much talking. I want to tell you, and I want to say that we are committed as a country, as a ministry, to work with you on the GODAN initiative and to ensure that our country, Sierra Leone, is placed once more in the limelight in terms of data collection and management. Thank you very much for giving me the platform to speak on this. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Excellency Mr. Jallo. I'm very glad that Mr. Jallo was here first to give us a little bit of the women's perspective on open data, because and second to have some kind of gender balance here on this panel. Sorry, you guys. Okay. So we needed to do something about that. Now, what I hope listening to this personally is that I see countries having some problems, but having some solutions also. So I hope that by networking together, we can trade solutions for the problems that we have coming from different places. But anyway, I'm not going to elaborate on that. I would love now to hear from our host, Minister Beck, which has prepared a very nice presentation for us, and then hear his comments on the different presentations that took place. So I'm going to ask, you're here? Okay.
Thank you very much, distinguished panelists we have here, Andre. We can never thank you more. My colleagues from Sierra Leone and all the participants who have come to join us today here. As co-host of this summit, we really feel proud that the whole event is generating interest and value is actually being generated here on how we can use open data to fight hunger, to create food security in the world, and also to bring about nutritious habits of eating, because we know food is not about filling our tummies only, but it's about having it develop us to be better citizens, to think better for our countries and economies so that we can develop. So, okay. I think I need to say a word so that this budget can. Good. I will generally talk about the open data in Kenya and in Africa, and the South-South Cooperation as a host and as a visionary of this concept of open data. As a country, in Kenya, we joined the GODAN last year in July 2015 at the Emerging Financial Development Meeting, FFD. And we have committed as a country that this is the way to go, and we have accepted as to be the champion of ensuring that we bring our colleagues, countries, and use all the existing platforms both in Africa and all the other the South-South Cooperation to ensure that we all sensitize ourselves to use open data as a means of fighting hunger in the world. And so the ministry which I had, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and the Office of the Deputy President, because it's the office which has developed a serious interest in Kenya on the issues of agriculture and more specifically the open data initiative. Right, what do we consider as the context of open data in the area of agriculture? First and foremost, as a country, we subscribe in our constitution to open government, the rights of citizens to know. And so, as Sierra Leone presented to us here, it is the right of every Kenyan to know what's happening in its government. And if you don't provide the information, you're actually breaching a law. And I'm really very excited that this open data concept and initiative, not only in agriculture, but in other sectors of the economy, is receiving trust, more specifically in Africa. And so we are seeing legislation being passed around the right of citizens to access information. And this one we see as a transformation happening globally. And I know Africa is part of the countries which have been behind in terms of openness and in terms of rights of its citizens. And therefore, data now is becoming one of the major rights of citizens in the world. And so when we come to agriculture now, we are seeing agriculture as playing a central role in the economies of the world. And if we have to set the base of economic development, it can never happen without setting a proper basis in the area of agriculture. In Kenya, which applies also in most countries in Africa, and for Sierra Leone, they told us 58% of its economy, of its GDP, is derived from agriculture. In Kenya, we are talking of around 27%. In most African countries, it's over 25% of the GDP is dependent on agriculture. That shows how important the sector is. And one other statistic which is very interesting, in Sierra Leone, it is the average age of a farmer is 58 years. In Kenya, it's 60. And in Africa, it's over 60. That is to show, unless we do something, the future of agriculture, especially in Africa, is really facing a serious threat. And therefore, technology and information needs to be incorporated so that we can attract a new generation of farmers to come into agriculture. And the new generation require information at their fingertips. They require information at their handheld gadgets. And therefore, opening up this data and availing it in all these media really is going to help in ensuring that we sustainably engage in agriculture for future prosperity. What is uniquely amazing is the fact that if an average age of a farmer in Africa is 60 years, and it is not like the consumption of food is going to decrease going forward. And even the younger generation are actually the most consumers of food. I think it's imperative, therefore, that they should take it upon themselves that they have no option but to engage in this sector, even for their own survival, not for anybody else. And therefore, we really need to bring out these facts across and really create environments that we ensure that the younger generation engages in agriculture. And technology is the only way to go. and information is going to be power in ensuring that all these people engage in agriculture. Little of information again from my country, Kenya, is that out of a population of 45 million people, I don't know how it is in the world, but we have more women than men as a demographic reality in Kenya. And looking at that is that chronic food insecurity is affecting 70% of our population. Another 17% is underweight children, while 7% is actually what I would call standard children below the age of 5 years, which is really something which we need to handle through nutrition and handle the other one through food security issues. So we are not only talking about food security or data for food security, but food security and also nutrition. It's also gratifying to know that a lot of initiatives are coming up both globally and also nationally and regionally on issues on agriculture. The way we view agriculture now is creating a lot of interest and excitement both globally and in the region. Globally, you see it through the SDG goals, where agriculture is really playing a very central role. Continentally, and especially when I look at Africa, the African leadership is really mainstreaming agriculture through frameworks which are now in operation, like the CADIP, the Comprehensive Agriculture Development Programs. And looking at Kenya, for example, we have arrangements and programs, our blueprint, which is the Vision 2030, and it's seeing agriculture as a main pillar in economic development. And therefore, having this understanding, it is now the opportunity for all of us to ensure that we create opportunities and infrastructure to flourish, to make this sector, which actually is being recognized both globally, continentally, and even national levels, as very critical for our economies to grow. Now, some of the commitments which have been met at the global and also at regional level are the following. 2010, for information, is a global strategy for improving agriculture and rural statistics, was endorsed by the United Nations. So we have the basis of moving forward with this with open data initiative. Again, in 2011, the African Action Plan for Improving Statistics for Food Security on Sustainable Agriculture and Rural Development was agreed upon by the African Union members. So the issue of data is really being appreciated and being advocated at all levels. And then the Malabo Declaration also on accelerated agricultural growth and transformation for shared prosperity and improved livelihoods includes a major component of generation of reliable agricultural data. And then GODAN, where we are now. So I look at GODAN as now the platform of actually harnessing what is actually existing globally, or bringing the thoughts, global thoughts, on the area of data generation, data availability, and the correctness of the data and dissemination of the same, a reality. Because we have had this information in bits and pieces scattered all over. And so we see GODAN now as the framework and the initiative to bring all this information together, put them in a bottle, and avail it to the world to use it for food security and prosperity. Now, why is this very important? And this data and all other initiatives in the agricultural sector is coming about because of the challenges which we are facing in the sector. And some of the major challenges which we are facing is things to do with what we know really, the climate change issues, access to affordable credit, the insurance, irrigation, mechanization, all these things are big challenges which we are facing and which we need to fix so that agriculture serves the world and provides a good opportunity for us to fight hunger globally. And how are we going to fix these challenges which we are facing in the agricultural sector? Open data is one critical way of fixing it. Unless we get data on climate, how are we going to be more responsive as far as handling climate change is concerned? Unless we get information and data on financial services, how are we going to have many, and even the young people, engage in agriculture? Because the question they'll ask you is, I don't have capital. And therefore, we need to avail information on cheap credit which is available. We need to avail information in what most governments and other agencies are providing in the area of credit, de-risking financing in Africa. So unless those informations are availed, you would be blocking out a good constituency of our otherwise farmers just because they don't have information. We need to provide information on research, on varieties which have come up, which are actually resilient, which are water efficient, which are disease resistant. People don't engage in agriculture in certain areas, not because they don't want to, but because they know even if they do agriculture, they are not going to get anything out of it. But unless we avail information that there are new varieties of seeds which are available now, we can do better in specific areas, and especially in water deficient areas, then we will be lying with information which is not helping anybody in the world. And people would be dying of hunger, not because there is no solution, but because information is not there. And that is why this vision of GODAN, of bringing out this information, generating correct information and putting them in a format which will be accessible to everybody to use it, then the world is not going to sort out its problems, especially in feeding its people. And therefore, the challenges in the agricultural sector, to a very large extent, would be handled and sorted out by open data. Now, what about the data itself? Besides a lot of challenges which we have in the area of data generation, I will look at only the number 3 and the number 5 because it contributes the highest. And number 3 is the scattered data sets amongst various data generators. What we are seeing, even globally, is there is a lot of data, whether correct or not, or whether accurate or not, but the data is available in various forms, in various silos. Certain research institutions have a set of data which would help sort out many issues, but it is only existing in those research institutions. Certain bureaus have certain data. Certain countries have certain data. But because sometimes we think we need to hold on data because of competitive advantages which we want to have, we are trying to use data as our competitive advantage tool, not knowing that by doing that, we are denying all of us the opportunity to make this world a better world in terms of feeding itself. So we should not look at data as a competitive tool, but we should look at it as an opportunity for all of us to improve ourselves in unison. So we, as GODAN, we want to see how we demystify, how we take our data from these silos and put it in layer form, not in a silo form, but just to put it in layer form, so that if you want to access it, you know you can access data in layers, but not directing, if you want this information, you need to talk to this particular, but let it happen in a portal which you can access it in whatever form you need to. So we want to see how to demystify, how to remove data from these silos and have it available across the board. The other one is the number 5. Government institutions are unable to disseminate data due to limited understanding of the importance of data, as well as lack of strong public demand as part of their rights. Even in the Bible, they say, my people will perish because of lack of knowledge. Yes, exactly. It has been communicated very well. So what could be happening is that the capacity of either our governments or our institutions may not be at a level where they can capture correct information, put them in a consumable manner, and disseminate the same to the consumers. That is one of them. The other thing is the knowledge by the consumers themselves. The farmers may not know the importance of even the information, even the data itself. And so we are now faced with a serious situation where we really need to do advocacy. We really need to undertake a lot of advocacy for people to realize the importance. In our room here, you'd be surprised why anybody in the world would not know that data is important for decision making. But let me tell you, there is a great population out there. When you told them data, they even don't know what you are talking about. And so we have a big responsibility to advocate, and I am happy that one of the visionaries is the one campaign who would help in the area of advocacy of importance of data and to generate information so that we can pass more information to the world that data is very critical, more specifically in Africa. There is a lot of information which could be like in the Western world, which also needs to be brought to the open so that the African countries can benefit from the same. We have a lot of Western institutions which have done a lot of work in the African region and other areas, what I could call, and my friend from Colombia was calling the developing countries. A lot of institutions from the Western world have been working in these countries. And they have generated a lot of data which is existing in whatever form. Which means this data, if made open, would also help in development of those same countries where the data was generated. And therefore, advocacy and the importance of sharing the importance of data is very critical. What then are we seeing as the visionaries of GODAN? We are looking at a situation where we bring together the leadership both in the South, under the South-South Cooperation and also Africa to ensure, and more specifically Africa, to create that understanding, mainstream GODAN issues in the frameworks which we have. During AUC meetings, for example, should we use GODAN on the sidelines to generate excitement and also communicate to African Union leadership that data should form part of the peer review targets? Because we have peer review targets by the African states. We have mutual accountability frameworks which have been developed. So how are we going to bring in the issue of open data as one of the commitments which these countries, these heads of states, should commit to ensuring that it happens in their various countries? And then the responsibility of GODAN now ensures that we create a universal portal where we will all access this information in a format which is, you can drill down until you get what you are looking for. So to me, I think we are living in exciting times when information is really going to play a bigger role. And so going forward, we are looking at prioritizing and improving the management of agricultural statistics. I think that should be a major deliverable, which we will look at a strategy on how we are going to achieve that. And develop, because at the bottom line, we need to develop a roadmap on how we are going to achieve all the strategies we are talking about here. Because at the end of the day, we want also to be accountable and say, from the time we started talking GODAN, how far have we gone in terms of sensitizing people, in terms of bringing all this information probably to a central place? What information are we talking about? In what formats you did that? Or what action have we taken to ensure that we support as many countries as possible to develop the infrastructure which will ensure that they put together an agricultural information system which would help them make decisions which is informed. In the roadmap, we are looking at 6 areas as a suggestion, and then we will be discussing and seeing how we are going to move forward as far as that is ensured, which are really very common to ensure availability and accessibility of agricultural data and statistics. I think that's the bottom line. And then strategies on how to improve the generation and production of the field data from the field level. Now, what strategies do we have? How do we help countries ensure that they generate correct data from the field in terms of the softwares? Again, we've been told by our friend from Rwanda. In fact, in Africa, we pride about Rwanda in terms of IT. I think it is one IT. Yeah, I think the whole country is a Silicon Valley, so to speak. And so we would want champions in various fields say that what we will see is how are we going to use technology to generate correct information right from the farmer level. The penetration of mobile telephony in Africa, we are very excited that it is big, and it beats most of the developing countries as far as mobile telephone is concerned. I don't know how it happened, but it's something which has happened, and it's a reality. The penetration is very high, and therefore we want to leverage on that to generate more accurate and to generate it faster. And then the institute use of sustainable agricultural data collection and management systems. This is what I'm talking about by use of the technology. And supporting automation, the agricultural statistics and management, something which, there is an exciting project which I saw, a young girl. This young girl, by the way, was even recognized by Obama when he visited Kenya. It's called M-Farm. This young girl has come up with a system where she manages to register farmers, capture all the activities of a farmer from what they plant, when do they plant, and when do they harvest. And with that information, they are able to feed back to that farmer as to when they should be having the product ready for market and where to sell. Because has managed to map that with these crops which certain farmers are growing, the availability of the market is at this period of the year and at this price. Say that it is a very robust software which has really helped a group of farmers. In fact, we are trying to help her now scale up that software so that it captures the entire country. So you can imagine the kind of innovations young people can come up. It's a small girl. Actually, I think less than 20 years who has come up with and seen opportunities in the agricultural sector. So technology definitely is going to be a major player as far as the generation of correct information is concerned. Locally now in Kenya, what we are doing as a ministry is to do an agriculture census. We believe we need to get the baseline information where we do complete and total population census of all the agricultural activities happening in the country. And we think this should also happen in all the countries. And again, building capacity in this area, both by resource mobilization and capacity of the human capital, is very critical. So that at any given time, you are able to know from where are you moving from, in which direction. And then all these activities definitely requires resources, and therefore we need the capacity also to mobilize resources from our national governments. And when we talk of resources, especially in Africa, we are not talking of even external resources. We want our governments to commit resources to building databases in our countries. And then again, as my friend from Sierra Leone said, why are we investing in fighter jets? Why are we investing in other technologies of war instead of fighting this bigger war or fighting hunger, where we need to invest in data generation? So when we talk of resource mobilization, I think we should actually put our money where our mouth is, and that is where we are going to generate information which is going to help us feed our people. Voila, that is the little information I had for you, but to conclude, I really, as I said yesterday, let us all be champions of this open data initiative, and let us use our individual and collective positions to generate excitement around it and to influence our institutions, our governments, and everybody else to contribute towards making this open data initiative a reality. From our bit, as a visionary and as a champion of this, we will promise to come together and see, to create more opportunities for us to share how to make this one a reality and in the shortest time possible. I think we don't have the luxury of time. Thank you very much.
Well, on these very wise words, Excellency, we must thank you very much for this outstanding presentation. It was most interesting. I took a particular note of the connections you made from the Bible to Sierra Leone to other parts of the world, all from which there's a wealth of knowledge that we benefit in sharing and learning from. So the purpose of this session was indeed to put on the table some of the knowledge, some of the information that we have, some of the capacities we have in open data. I hope that as a result of this session is going to contribute to tighten partnerships, relations between us, and making us stronger in the way ahead. Before I conclude, I will just acknowledge the enthusiasm there was for participating to this exchange and this networking from even other countries that could not be presenting because of a lack of time, namely Ghana, where we had Mrs. Rejoice that was ready to present, Nigeria with Mr. Sonigitu, and other countries as well. But still, I think this warmly. I think it shows that there's a commitment to work together, and that's the whole spirit of GODAN and the whole spirit of this session, hosted so kindly by Mr. Beck and other ministers. So thank you very much, and have a good lunch.